the cattle and herdsmen republic. Even our fathers joined in the same prayer. We, their children, are we going to join in the same prayer? We have prayed for more than 100 years now, yet not even a sign of its answer has come. Let's ask ourselves, are we praying the right prayer? Are we making the right choice for our future generations? How can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land, Nigeria? Oh, hell, Biafra.
The land of Biafra, a sacred nation. Our land Biafra, our land is sacred nation. The land of Biafra, a blessed nation. Homo Biafra, let's stand and fight for freedom.
Fellow Biafrans, it is an abomination to pray for Nigeria, the zoo country. Even if we pray for 1 million years, God will not answer, and there will never be peace in Nigeria, the zoo country, because lies cannot dwell with darkness. If we can pray the right prayer, our God will answer immediately from heaven. And the right prayer is, pray for the restoration of Biafra, pray for the eradication of saboteurs, pray for the destruction of all enemy states fighting against Biafra and her freedom. Pray for the divine courage and wisdom upon Biafran leaders. If we pray so, our God will answer immediately from heaven, and Biafra will come. Only then shall we sing the Lord's song in our blessed land. All hail Biafra.
The land of Biafra, Burundi, Mary Manamu, Namire, Mero Tutuli, Weparata, Burundi, Kenara, Toya, Toya, Toya.
The great land, our land Biafra, the great land, our land is sacred nation. The land of Biafra, a sacred nation. Our land Biafra, our land is sacred nation. The land of Biafra, a blessed nation. Homo Biafra, let's stand and fight for freedom.
And justice. Blessed is the man, woman, tribe and country that supports the restoration of Biafra. God says the Lord Chukwokikadama. Biafra shall come, for I will not let your efforts be in vain. And because Biafra shall stand, I will cause you to stand. And you will rule the world with the people of Chukwokikadama. You will never be divided, and the dead shall depart from you. You shall be like the biblical woman Rahab in Joshua chapter 2 and chapter 6. I will save you when I shall send my angels of destruction to destroy my enemies who are enemies of Biafra. All hail Biafra.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's our country. Oh yeah, yeah, the land of suffering. Oh yeah, yeah, the land of intimidation.
They call us slaves in a sacred nation, and we are caught in a sacred nation. Biafra, the land of Biafra, Buru Kibu, Mwere Manamu, Namire, Mwere Tutulu, Mwere Paraja, Buru Dikinara, Kaitoya, Toya, Toya.
The great land, Allah Biafra, the great land,
Our land is sacred nation, the land of Biafra, a sacred nation. Our land Biafra, our land is sacred nation, the land of Biafra, our blessed nation. Home of Biafra, let's stand and fight for freedom.
No matter your wisdom, intellectuals, and decision in the world, you shall be enslaved for enslaving the Africans which you did not create. You shall be divided for attempting to divide the Biafrans that Chukwuokika created and joined together because of your greed. You shall die for killing innocent souls. Your genocidal acts and all manner of atrocities against Biafrans. Detaining our leaders and killing of Biafrans can never prevent the coming of Biafra. Because Biafra must come. All hail Biafra.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the country. Oh yeah, yeah, the land of suffering. Oh yeah, yeah, the land of intimidation.
We are the children of the mighty nation, where every daughter is in us a princess. We don't sacrifice, but we are being slaughtered. And we are not cheats, but we are being cheated. Righteousness is not a nation, but sin is our reproach.
Where are you, oh, the great God of our land? Where are you, oh, Chukwuadiame no wire?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
This is Biafra Television, exposing the lies. This is Biafra Television, exposing the lies. This is Biafra Television, exposing the lies.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Biafrans, friends of Biafrans and lovers of freedom all over the world. Welcome to Sunrise Daily News Analysis on Biafra Television, a breakfast program that has been designed to educate and enlighten you about the happenings in our society, especially as it concerns the restoration project, as it concerns the indigenous people of Biafra. On this platform, we give you reasons we are agitating for our freedom. We give you reasons we want to be free. We see a lot of things going on in our society, a lot of things going on around us, even all over the world. A lot of issues that has been going on concerning the indigenous people. We've been through hell, we've been marginalized, we've been incarcerated on so many occasions. We have been annihilated. They try to wipe us off the surface of the earth, but Chukwu Kikabema has kept us, and of course we the remnant want our freedom. So on this platform we will be discussing a lot of issues that concerns our freedom. We are led by Nnamdi Kanu and deputized by Chemefo. We are whiter than white and whiter than snow. All we owe you is the truth. We are here to say the truth regardless of who is involved, without fear or favor. We say it the way it is. We are reaching from Biafra land this morning. I am Ngozi Chukwuka, and I have in the studio this morning with me
Bright Uriako.
As a Bright, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, Master Bright Uriako will be educating us today. We have some issues on the table. We have some news headlines. Today we will be going straight to news headlines from the Nigerian newspapers, both the past and the present. We will be looking at, when I mean past, when I say past, I mean like 1 week ago, 2, 3, 4 days back. We'll be looking at them and of course try to analyze them and try to educate you on what is obtainable. We are here with the truth and nothing but the truth. We are not like the Nigerian media who try to hypnotize people, or they try to manipulate people with their lies, and you see the people, accepting all manner of lies that is being given to them. They dish out false information, they dish out false news, but we are here with the truth. That is why we are whiter than white and whiter than snow. Okay, so this morning, before we go ahead, no one will be left behind. So please you share the program. If you're on Facebook, share it on your timeline for your friends, for public to view, to watch with you. Then share it also inbox. Let your friends watch with you inbox. Please, it is important. Even those who are not available now can watch it after the program. That's the importance of sharing it via their inbox. Then you can copy as well, send to people on WhatsApp. From WhatsApp, they can be linked to Facebook, to our platform on Facebook. It is very, very important. We are also on Periscope. For those who are not on Facebook, please tell them we are on Periscope. We are on YouTube as well. We are on Twitter. So please, as we tweet the program, please, you also have to tweet it as well. Tweet it to those who matters. Tweet it all over. Keep the Twitter burning with this program. It is very important. Then, for the benefit of those who are in Biafra land, we are transmitting simultaneously on Radio Biafra London. So please tell them to tune in to Radio Biafra London. Very, very important. We'll ensure everyone is following. We'll ensure everyone is aware of what is happening right now and what is about to happen. Of course, we know a lot is about to happen. So all hands must be on deck, all eyes must be open, all ears must be open to hear and to see what is about to happen, so you will not be taken unaware. All right, Mazureko, let's quickly look at what we have here, what we are talking about. For a very long time we've been talking about the election boycott. The election boycott, and it's a very, very important tool in this struggle. But there are some people who've had reports or reactions from different quarters as to why the election should not be boycotted, why everybody must join hands and vote out Buhari, why everyone must come and let's put Atiku and our own brother will be there so that that, you know, when our brother is there, we'll get Biafra easily. When our brother is there, everything will be, you know, will change and things will normalize. And of course, one of those people is an elder statesman in the person of Elder Sylvester Nwobo Alo. On the 26th of October, he appealed to the indigenous people of Biafra to suspend the campaign for election boycott. What's your take on that?
Yes, if you watch his appeal, watch his position, of course he also joins a stream of Nigerian politicians, Igbo political elites, who have been saying the same thing. Because they have been saying that, yes, they're trying to support Buhari, trying to support Atiku, trying to support one of the parties, that's one of the Nigerian ruling parties, and they are Igbo political elites. And it's a question that we must answer. Because when we, the indigenous people of Biafra, are fighting for our freedom, we have political elites who are saying something quite different from what the people are saying. And it becomes a very strong point that we must consider. Why would something like this be happening in our land? And of course, our leader addressed it in his statement, in his address to the indigenous people of Biafra. He said something very clear. He narrated how our political elites have lost their priorities. And you look at it, there is no other explanation to it, if not that they have lost their priorities. And for that reason, all they can do is to come and advise the indigenous people of Biafra. You have political elites who are supposed to coming back to the people, fall back to the people, and find out the interests of the people, and of course do the duty of the people, work for the people. But they are in turn coming back to advise the indigenous people of Biafra to accept the Nigerian project. That becomes a very big concern to us. So it is shameful. And of course, it is a very big shame that the leaders, those who were supposed to be political elites, those who were supposed to be leaders, those who were supposed to be driving the interests of the people forward, are not driving the people's interest. They are simply coming against the people's interest, coming again, of course, to advise the people to abandon their interest. So it is a very shameful situation. It's a very, very shameful situation. And of course, our political elites, as our leader had actually said, Nnamdi Kanu, made it clear that they have lost their sense of priorities, and that is why things are falling apart in their midst.
All right, thank you very much. He also claimed it would not be in the interest of Ndibo. In quotes, he used Ndibo, not Biafra, but we all are Biafrans. But I'm trying to quote him, said it is not in the interest of Ndibo to boycott election polls. What does he mean by that?
You see, when you're looking at the word interest of Ndibo, it has become a cliche that they use in public meetings. Our political elites use this cliche all the time. They come out and they keep talking about interests of Ndibo. You see some group of people, even the paid agents, you see them all the time when they are making press statements, when they are trying to use the media, when they are using any platform to talk about our plight, to talk about the people. You see them with one common language, the interest of Ndibo, the interest of Ndibo. And they are talking about the interest of Ndibo as if they understand the interest of Ndibo. Because we, the indigenous people of Biafra, when we sat at home May 30th last year, remember before Operation Python Dance, remember that one of the areas that one of the things that generated jealousy was our sit at home that we constantly observed. And of course, when the indigenous people of Biafra called for sit at home, they saw an absolute compliance and they became worried. And now they are talking about the interests of Ndibo. And if not that they have lost their priorities, could they be talking about the interests of Ndibo when we have also made our interests very, very clear to them? When we observe the sit at home, when we agitate, when we fight, we are asking for something very clear. We are asking for our freedom. We are asking for our right. We are asking for our justice to be done to our plight. But they are coming with different language, coming painting this cliche. And of course, they have lost their priorities, because there is no other reason why you see the political elite all the time coming to the front of the newspapers. You see some group of boys, you see some people, they all in the same language. They are using it constantly, and they have used it to a point that we should look deeply into this language. What do they really mean by the interest of Ndibo?
Exactly.
Because when they are talking about the interest of Ndibo, we have an interest, and they are coming all the time talking about interest of Ndibo. Do they really mean the same thing that we are talking about? No, because our leader made it clear that they have lost their priorities. And you look at it, stem down, look down to the Nigerian politics. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Look at we, the indigenous people of Biafra. We are asking for our freedom. We are asking for our place, because we are the indigenous people and we live in our own land. We cannot be strangers in our own land, and they are fighting for one Nigeria. So you see their interest in Nigeria. They have focused in Nigeria, and they are interested in Nigerian politics. They want you by all means, by force, by anything. Just don't talk about Biafra, don't talk about your freedom, don't talk about your future. You don't talk about development in the land. You should just talk about anything that makes that evil contraction, that creation, that amalgamation, that British experiment, anything that makes it work is what they call their interest. And you look at it, it's not exactly the interest of the people. They are coming in contrast with what the people want. They are bringing something from Nigeria, the gospel they were asked to propagate. They are bringing it home, and they are telling you that, see, that they have a plan for you there in their system, in Nigerian government, in British government, that they have planned something, that there's something that's a place they have actually given you one of the you know, like they talk about resource control and all that, and they give us 13%. I think in the oil producing areas they give them 13%. So yeah, you look at the kind of situation where they have actually carved you out. They have actually marked your condition. They have actually marked your voice to the extent that they even decide how much of your voice that should be counted, that should speak, that should be heard in the public. So in the Nigerian project is one that they have actually carved out, and they have designed and actually attributed some degrees of attention and of course a percentage to the Igbo man. So it's not something that you do, and of course you don't just live based on your fundamental human rights. No, you don't just do things as a human being. You don't live in your land as the owner of your land. You don't live with the right to develop your land. No, you only live based on the conditions apportioned for you in the Nigerian government. So that becomes the interest of our political elites, different from the real interest of the people to emancipate themselves. So when you look at the interest, they are simply saying something, that's your interest, that there's something that have been designed by the owners of Nigeria, that they have a plan, like in politics, like they are talking about 2019 election, that they have designed something. You should just forget about your rights, go and take the position they are giving you in the Nigerian government. So that is what they mean by the interest. So they are not really talking about the interest of the people. They are talking about what they have designed in their original plan in Nigeria.
And to you, what do you think is the interest of the people?
That is very, very important. Because when you look at the interest of the people, we have asked for our freedom. We made it clear. And you look at the Nigerian project, because that is the language, the interest, that's the contrast point. That is the point of conflict. You look at, there's a line that has been drawn. We, the indigenous people of Biafra, we are asking for total emancipation. We are asking for our freedom. We want to be free as free people that we were born to be, and of course live in our land. And you look at the Nigerian projects that have been there. Now look at the system. We've been suffering from one problem to the other from the days of slave trade. We, of course, coming out of slave trade, got into colonization. Then from colonization, you moved on to post-colonial era, where they said they had independence. But today it's no longer about post-colonization, it's about extinction. It's about a system where you are about to be wiped out, and that is what they mean by the Islamization agenda that you see that's playing. So when you look at a place for Igbo man in Nigeria, when you look at the Nigerian project, you ask yourself, what is this Nigerian project? What is the place for the Igbo man in it? The place of in Nigerian project, the Nigerian project they are talking about, is the Islamization agenda, which you see that the government of Obama sponsored. You talk about the coming of the man in Asura today. So you see the Nigerian becoming a project in the hand of the Islamic world. Nigeria became a project that you sit in your house today and you see terrorism everywhere. Why is it that what is happening is happening? It's because Nigeria has been designed, a new project has been designed, and they have focused on achieving that project based on the Islamization agenda that is ongoing. You see them driving the Islamization agenda. You see them coming with the government, the Islamic world, trying to capture the interests of the people, trying to capture the culture of the people, because they feel that they should unite the country, because this country has never been united from foundation. So since Nigeria could not be united, Nigeria was never united, they are looking for something very, very fundamental they can use to unite the people and make it basic, and they come under the religious umbrella. Because you know that Nigeria was not united culturally. Nigeria was never united religiously. Nigeria is a country with diverse ethnicity, diverse language. You know, our diversity is so much that if the amalgamation made it worse, that we can never live together. But they feel there's an ideology, there's a philosophy that you can unite Nigeria by force, and the only way to unite Nigeria is to bring them under one umbrella, one religious umbrella, one ideology, and that is the Islamization agenda. And that is what you see them began to drive under the government of Obama. We saw how seriously they fought against the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, to the point that Goodluck Jonathan was forced to quit, and to the point that he saw that election was being rigged and he accepted defeat. He rushed to congratulate the man in Asorok. There was something beyond it. There was something deeper. And what did we see that began to play? We saw that terrorism that had already been planted began to grow. We saw the Islamization agenda. We saw the Fulani herdsmen begin to kill Christians to the point that they cannot be stopped. We saw that they are moving from the north and they are in the middle belt, and Christians are being killed. And we saw them coming out to tell you, surrender your land or your life. We saw them coming out to try to tell you that, see, there is no alternative. And our political elites are now coming to tell us that, see, that you need to understand the interest of Ndigbo, that they have interest. Because when you're looking at this interest now, we are looking at the Nigerian project. We are now trying to match the interests together. This interest, is it the interest of the people or the interest of the political elites? We, the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu noticed what they were doing, and Nnamdi Kanu said no, and he intercepted it, said no, we want total freedom for my people. We have to stop this Islamization agenda and get ourselves free, because never have our history have our existence been threatened as it is threatened today. So Nnamdi Kanu, having come with the, of course, restoration agenda of the people, coming back to make us free, live as free people as we have been, because we were free before the amalgamation took place. We were free before slave trade. We were free before the Nigerian project began. So the only option is that the interest of the people, being that we have a language, we have a culture, we have an identity, is to return back to our roots and become Biafrans. Yes, and that is the only way we can be saved from what is going on in the Nigerian project. Because the Nigerian project is one that will totally annihilate, it's just totally annihilation of your real identity. And that is why what we stand to fight. We stand for our freedom. We stand for total emancipation from Nigeria, from that evil Nigerian project. So we, the indigenous people of Biafra, we are asking for something very simple, that we want to be totally free. We want total independence of Biafra, of every Igbo man, of everybody, of course, the people of the old eastern region of old, back to our roots, back to who we were. So we are not interested in the Nigerian project. We are interested in Biafra. But the political elites have come in contrast with this, and they said we should be interested in Nigeria instead of being interested in Biafra.
All right, thank you very much. Still, according to him, he said the right way to achieve our desire is to join those who meant well for us, so as to, of course, you already talked about the Nigerian project, because that was the word he used there. He said the right thing to do is for us to join those who meant well for us, so that the Igbos can get their own share of the Nigerian project. And can you please explain better, you know, for an indigenous people to get a share from a project? Are we supposed to be living in a project? Are we supposed to be in a nation, or are we supposed to be a project?
You see, that is where the bottom line of the whole thing is. That is the line that have been drawn. Because you see a project, you see them building a project, and a serious one for that matter. And our political elites are the one being used to drive this project, because they see us as their headache. Now, we are now being driven as a project that must be accomplished. There is a mission that must be accomplished. And that mission is that we have to abandon our identity. We have to abandon our roots. We have to abandon who we are as a people and now join the Nigerian project. It becomes a project. We are no longer seen as human beings. We are now seen as tools. We are now seen as work tools, as instruments in their hands. So you know, if only our people can understand this, if only, because when we keep crying about freedom, when we keep talking about our need to be totally emancipated, our need to regain our consciousness, our need to sit down and reason, this is the basic issue, that you are driven not as a human being. You are used as a tool to accomplish a project. You are no longer being counted as one who lives, as one who has a soul, as one who can reason, as one who can think, as one who can live as human being. You are not seen that way. You are seen as a tool in the hands of the Nigerian politician. So the philosophy of you being driven as a project, that is the Nigeria, and that is why they keep talking about the Nigerian project, run as a project, just like you building a house and you are looking for cement. You know, that is why you have former freedom fighters becoming cement sellers. So you have freedom fighters who have become cement sellers because they are the tools, they are being used as tools to accomplish the Nigerian project. So Nigeria now, everything you see in Nigeria is like a project, and that is why each time it is election time, it becomes a project that must be accomplished, that election must take place, that the people must be forced to vote, that the people must sell their rights. That
and sorry, if I may ask, who are these? He said, you know, he tried to tag who meant well. Who are those who meant well for the people?
Those who meant well for the people are, you know, looking at those who meant well. That is the misplaced priorities that our leader had addressed. Because they don't also understand what it means to mean well for the people. They have misplaced their priorities. What does it mean to mean well for the people? And what are the evidences? Because when they arrested our women in Owerri, we were supposed to actually see those that meant well for the people. It was a clear example. Things that are happening in our land, we are supposed to show us those who meant well for the people. When these Fulani herdsmen attack, we were supposed to see those who meant well for the people. When the Operation Python that took place, we were supposed to also see those who meant well for the people. We were supposed to see it in all the problems that we have faced in the economic blockade that we've been suffering in Biafra land. We were supposed to see the influence of those who meant well for the people. So you, in all these things, you don't see the political class coming to address issues. Of course, we knew that when they arrested our women in Owerri, what those who were supposed to be political class, the Ohaneze Ndigbo, did was well to laugh at the people. Laugh at the women, say it served them right, that they were going about agitating for the whereabouts of Nnamdi Kanu, and they would laugh them to scorn and say it served them right. And now, coming back to it, looking at politicians, they are painting themselves as those that meant well for the people. Now, in real question, do they really mean well for the people? They are painting themselves a politician, a Nigerian politician, of course, an Igbo man, and most times it baffles me. I sit down and I think seriously about it, because meaning well for the people is really something that it has become a subject that we need to look at. We need to really consider these politicians that are always coming out and they say they mean well for us. They mean well for us. In what respect, in what aspect do they really mean well for us? Because it's really painful. It's a shame, and I see them as being so heartless. That look at the condition of the Igbo man today. Look at the Biafran agitation. Look at the struggle for the restoration of Biafra. Look at where we are today. Look at the travails of Nnamdi Kanu. And of course, as soon as Nnamdi Kanu surfaced, we saw that the whole country, all the parts of the country, went mute. And of course, we saw that they have been fidgeting. Even the likes of Lai Mohammed, who said he was in London. I was watching a clip of Lai Mohammed, and he was saying that he was in London when the news broke out that Nnamdi Kanu resurfaced, and you saw him laughing, but beyond that laugh was something very deep in him. There was this force in him that actually he was under tension. Something is happening to him, and he was laughing, and he was concerned about it. He had to run back, and I saw him in a video organizing a meeting, and they were addressing it. But our political elites, in spite the level of the condition that things are, that the people are, that the travails of Nnamdi Kanu and things that have happened to us are still this heartless that they don't even have remorse. They don't even think. They don't even come down to at least pedal down to look at what the people are saying, to look at even what other sections of the country are saying. It takes those from the Yorubas, it takes the Northerners to point some things out to them. It's a very big shame that while our women were being arrested in Imo State, while our women were being punished, while they were in police filthy cell in Imo State, while they were taken to prison, while they were being tortured and all those things were happening to them, it took a governor from the north to start pointing out to Igbo governors that these women did not do anything wrong. So why is it that our politicians are this heartless? It becomes a very big question. It becomes a very big concern that if inspired the travails, because we know what happened to Nnamdi Kanu. And of course, having come out, Lai Mohammed also knew, and that was why even while he saw him, he was uncomfortable. The Nigerian government, everybody in Nigeria are uncomfortable. They are thinking of what to do. But our political elites are so heartless, and sometimes it gives me serious concern about the Igbo man, about the Igbo politicians, about our political elite, that our leaders said they have misplaced their interest. They have been addressed by different quarters. In fact, when you read foreign literatures about our people, you see that they address them as savages, and they are doing everything to live up to it. They sell their people, they eat them if possible, they do anything just to make sure they maintain a position. So our politicians have become a very big question to us, because when you look at the condition they operate, and you still look at how the wickedness in them, how they, without any sense of humanity in them, they still come out boldly. You still see a politician coming out boldly, and he's coming out to address the indigenous people of Biafra. He's coming out to tell us to abandon the election boycott. So you ask yourself, these Igbo politicians, do they still have soul? Do they still think? Do they still have that thing that makes you human? There's nothing human in them. But the Northerners, you see that a good number of them can't even do what they are doing. So it becomes a very big question. Our politicians, who really meant well for the people, do they really mean well for the people? We know that, yes, why you see that Nnamdi Kanu will issue a command and the whole Biafra land will obey it, is because we know what he stands for. We know the travails he has been through. We knew how he suffered in Kuje prison. He said it in Radio Biafra London, what he was going to do. He said it, he highlighted our condition, and why he was saying it, we knew. Because all these times, all the time before now, there have been a lot of torture, there have been a lot of pain, and nobody was speaking up. The politicians were there, and they said they meant well for us. But the only person that actually came out to speak for us, to challenge the evil contraction, to challenge the Nigerian government, was being incarcerated. And we knew that why politicians came out was because they wanted to actually mortgage him. They wanted to actually cage him, like they did to Wazirika and the rest of them. And Nnamdi Kanu rightly said it. And what did we see? We saw the Operation Python that's too coming out. And of course, we saw the travails of Nnamdi Kanu. And you ask yourself, who is responsible for it? And while we are still looking at the condition of those of Nnamdi Kanu and what they have put him through, they are still coming out to tell you how heartless they are, and they are still telling you that we mean well for you. So it becomes very, very interesting to find out what it means when they say they mean well. Whose interests are they serving? The man that is coming out serving the interests of the people, Nnamdi Kanu, who actually came out openly and said, I am not IPOB, I do the will of IPOB, is the one they want to kill. So who is it, and where is the evidence that they actually meant well for the people? So the Nigerian politicians you see in Igbo land are heartless. In fact, it's a shame that sometimes they would come out openly to make speech. They would come out to the public to say some things, and even at this moment where the whole world are watching, where the whole world, the international community, are seriously interested in what is happening, you still see them coming out openly, and they're talking about interests of the people. They're talking about meaning well for the people. What does it mean to mean well for the people? Does it mean that once you're involved in Nigerian project, once you sell your people to the Hausa Fulani, once you hand your people over, you mean well for the people? Does it mean that the only thing is that, okay, just hands up and accept the Islamic agenda, the Islamization agenda, then anybody that tells you that mean well for the people? So you know, talking about peace without justice. So the position of Nigerian politician in Igbo land, the Igbo politician, is something that is so painful. It's something that when you look at it, it's so shameful to look at this politician, to ever know that they bear Igbo names, to ever know that they course, they set their foot in Igbo land, and they are saying these things, and they say they meant well for the people, and the people who they say they meant well for are in deep pain, and they are not doing anything about it. So it's a very big shame. They don't mean well for the people.
All right, thank you very much. They do not really mean well for the people. Okay, apart from the election boycott that IPOB have been campaigning for, have been championing, since we started the election, or since we started voting in Nigeria, do you think there is anything Biafrans have stood to gain? Anything Biafrans have gained in all the elections that have taken place? So why now?
Nothing. We have never gained anything from Nigeria. The only thing that we have gained is the loss of our loved ones. And you look at it, is it a gain? It's a very big loss. So the only thing we see get from Nigeria is the killing of our people. Of course, we talk about the economic blockade that took place in 1967, and you ask yourself, did they stop? Did the killings stop? The massacre of 1967, of 1966, 1967, and of course the genocide that they committed against the indigenous people of Biafra are still there. But looking at the system, do all those challenges, all those things that happened to us, have they stopped? And now our position, you look at what to gain in Nigeria, and you look at Nigeria as an entity, is there anything actually there to gain?
An entity or as a project? I think
as a project, yes, as a project.
That's actually what it is.
That is a project. So what is it that they say they have to offer? Because when you're looking at it, each time somebody is presenting a project to you, okay, it's an offer. You need to look at what is there to gain,
and not just an offer. Sorry, let's really get it clear. A project. When we talk about project do end.
Of course, which has also ended 2014.
And it's quite unfortunate they are not aware that the project has ended.
They are aware. They want to renew it. They want to renew it. That's why I talked about the 2014 election, the 2015 election, the role Obama played. Because they are aware that the Nigerian project have come to an end, and that was why I talk about how they, in a haste, and mounted pressure on President Goodluck Jonathan, former President Goodluck Jonathan, and how the man in Asrock was sponsored to come and take over leadership. And they are actually coming with a new project, and they are coming to sell the idea to you, and that idea is Islamization agenda. That's all you need to do to end the conflict, because Nigeria is one that cannot be united. Nigeria is one that have, of course, the divide and rule system was there from the beginning, and of course it's one that cannot be united, and they are coming with a project, and that project is that yes, we can do something. Let's unite it in a religious circle, in a religious ideology, the Islamization agenda. That is the point for unity in Nigeria. That is the only thing, and that is the same thing I keep talking about it all the time, that when Nigeria was created as a first entity sold to ignorant people because of the level of ignorance, and the only thing they do is to use force to sustain it, and the only platform for that force to sustain the Nigerian lies is the Islamization agenda. Because by the time they succeed in making everybody one under a religious platform, negative one for that matter, an extreme Islamic religion with violence, of course, you have a project. That is the project they are talking about, and they are selling it, and you are asking yourself, as Biafrans, how can we really find ourselves in this kind of project? Is there anything we can actually pick? Is it in terms of, because if you need to pick, you need to look at Islamic countries. Look at what is happening to them. Look at the kind of life they live. Look at the kind of people they are. Look at most of them. You look at them; they are desert dwellers. They are desert dwellers, and of course you see them as herdsmen. That is why you see that the Fulanis are simply turning everywhere to cattle colony. That is their primary business. And of course, look at we, the indigenous people of Biafra. Look at our identity. Look at our cultural heritage. Look at our, of course, our background, our spirituality. Look at our language. Look at our political system. Look at our culture. Look at everything. Where can you really find us in this Islamization agenda? It cannot work in Biafra land, because one is that we believe that Onyena Chia in Igbo land. We talk about Onyena Chia because each individual, you have your right to your religion. you have personal rights to your spirituality. And we as a people believe in one supreme God, Chukwu Okike Abịama, and that is who we follow. We of course know ourselves from the roots, but you see, apart from the cultural, apart from the spiritual heritage, you look at it politically. Look at the Islamic world today. Look at where they are. Is there any Islamic world today that is worth emulating? Is there any Islamic country today? Is it Iran? Is it Saudi Arabia? Is it Egypt? Which Islamic country that you can actually look up to as an example that say, okay, maybe we the indigenous people of Biafra, if we are set to be to Islamization agenda, maybe we'll be driving towards this end. We'll be looking, is there anyone in the country, any Islamic nation that you can point out today in the world that have so advanced that is worth emulating? The only thing we see from coming out from the Islamic world is violence, extreme violence, terrorism. That is what we have seen that is coming out from their end. Anywhere you see Islam, radical Islam, that is what you see. And that is the one they have brought to Nigeria. And that is why killings are going on. And that is why the Islamization agenda remained real, so that by the time you are forced, that's a show of force that Nigeria was created to be, would be actually implemented to the full, to the letter. That you will no longer have a right to return back to your root. You will not be living as Turkey, and as those who live in Turkey, as those who live today in, Turkey used to be a Christian country, but today is an Islamic country. You will no longer have the right to go back to your roots, and of course to look for your spirituality and get back yourself back to root. You don't have anything to gain in Nigeria. In the political system, look at Nigerian project. It's being governed by the Hausa Fulani. They are the owners of Nigeria. Nigeria was handed over to them. And okay, if we say let us accept the Nigerian project, accepting it as second-class citizens, accepting it as slaves, because look at the examples they have shown us in the past 100 years. What actually do you see that Nigeria has got to offer? That is slavery, absolute slavery, absolute slavery. And of course, what we found was starvation, economic blockade, killings, and of course, a total annihilation. Is that again? Is that a plus? Can you really sign into such project? That is what they are here to offer. And that is why you see them coming openly also to tell you, surrender your land or your life. So, the Nigerian project has got nothing to offer to the indigenous people. And of course, remember that we have turned round to all aspects of Nigeria. We have looked at Nigeria, we have turned it upside down. If there's anything we can actually pick, we're looking at it. Is it the educational system? What is it in Nigeria that you can actually pick? There is nothing in the Nigerian project, as they have exemplified in the past 100 years, that is worth emulating, that can actually address our quest, that can actually address our essence of being as human beings. So there is nothing to gain in Nigeria. There is nothing to go for. We, the indigenous people of Biafra, have nothing at all looking at Nigeria to gain in Nigeria. So there is no reason that we should actually give in to the Nigeria, because since we have been voting, as you have rightly said, we started voting from the day one. And actually look at the Nigerian system. We have actually been the one driving for democracy. We have actually been the one trying to make Nigeria work. We have actually been the one trying to make sure that we suffer. That is why you go to Kanu, go to Kaduna, go to every nook and cranny. We are the engine room. We are the driving force. You look at Nnamdi Kanu being at the forefront of independence. But when it was time for, of course, leadership, he was made a ceremonial president. And he still accepted it. He still allowed it for the interest of peace. So that, of course, thinking that something could come out of the evil project. But look at it, up until now, nothing has come out of Nigeria. So we have gained nothing. The only thing we have seen that happen is they reduced our population. They kept killing us. They killed us in the north. They killed us in the south. They killed anywhere we are. We became the enemy that have been hunted anywhere in Nigeria. So they have marked us for total annihilation. So there is nothing we can gain in voting in Nigeria if not death. So if you talk about what to take from Nigeria, it's only those who want to die that will be interested in Nigerian election, because the only thing that can come out of it is death, and that is it. So for that reason, there's nothing we have gained in voting in Nigeria. All those we have voted in the past, we saw how they were frustrated. All the time we voted, we saw how our vote never count. All the time we voted, we saw that election rigging is something that Nigeria has actually learned from the 1963 up until now. All the elections have been rigged. So where would we actually look to and say, yes, this is what we can actually go and fight for? This is actually what we can say it is the dividend we get from voting in Nigeria, from joining their evil project. There's nothing. So when they, of course, present their renewal of their projects, of course, we simply say, no, we don't want to continue. Nigeria has expired 2014. There is every attempt to renew it, especially through the drive of the Islamization agenda. We have rejected. What we want is total freedom, and we cannot get that freedom when you continue to vote. Vote to the same people, vote to the same system, vote in the same project, because when you vote, you have simply helped them to sign the project that you say you rejected. So we have gained nothing from Nigeria. Voting in Nigeria is a mess, and we cannot continue in that mess.
All right, thank you very much. In case you're just joining us, this is Sunrise Daily News Analysis on Biafra Television, and we are reaching from Biafra Land. We are transmitting simultaneously on Radio Biafra London. I am Ngozi Chukwu, and I have Mazi Bright Oriako with me in the studio this morning. We are looking at the election boycott and, of course, reactions coming from different quarters. We'll look at it basically on the need for election boycott, because it's very, very important. When we look at the need, we now react to the other people's stance on the election boycott. And just now we'll just finish talking about what's his name, Allo, he says he's a statesman, and this is the first time I'm hearing his name, a statesman who hasn't come out for once to condemn the evil going on. Yes, and now it's about election boycott, and he's coming out. This is the first time I'm hearing that name. This is the first time I'm hearing about him coming to appeal to the indigenous people of Biafra
to vote
for the
interest of Ndibo.
For the interest of Ndibo, and you ask yourself, what is the interest? And of course, he also said that for us to be part, for Ndibo to gain their desire in the project, in the Nigerian project, and you ask yourself, what project is he talking about? As far as I know, project comes to an end. When you are building a project, when you are working on a project, at a particular time, the project, comes to an end. You can start up another project. But this particular project, they are trying to renew it. And I think before you renew a project, you should first of all think about how many years, the resources, the strength, the time, the human resources you've spent in building that project, if really it's worth continuing, if really it's worth getting it renewed. And I think those people I know, they're just so, they don't really think about that.
No,
they don't think about the people.
They don't consider what we have invested.
And one other thing they do not consider is that this is not all about Nnamdi Kanu.
No.
It's all about the people. So why wouldn't they allow the people to decide their fate?
That is it. Why are they afraid of Biafra referendum? If there's anything that they fidget, if there's anything they have avoided, it is the Biafra referendum. And that is why you see Nnamdi Kanu made it clear. He said, see, the world need to understand what we are asking for. We are not asking for trouble. We are not asking for war. We want to solve the problem that have been created, that a problem have been created, and this problem is driven as a project, and the people must speak as human beings, must live as human beings. And of course, the Nigerian system, if actually you said, okay, you have a project, you want to make Nigeria a country, and that is what you want, that is what they want, imagine, and they can simply say something, let there be a referendum, very, very clear. And he made it clear, okay, you are political elites, and you are asking me to abandon the Biafran struggle. You are asking me to abandon the fight for the freedom of the people. You are asking me to abandon the injustice that have eaten deep into the system. You are asking me to abandon the inhuman treatment that is going on. You go to Abuja, go and get the day for a referendum. Simple. And you see, the political elites are avoiding this question. They, by all means, are thwarting it. They come out with a negative statement all the time, and they are talking about the interest of Ndibo. They say for the interest of Ndibo, in abandonment to the real interest. And the real interest is, give us the day for a referendum. That is what we said when we sat at home, September, 30th May. Simple. We actually sat at home, of course, remembering our fallen heroes and why they died. Because when we remember our fallen heroes, we also think about why they died. There is a reason why we have lost millions of Biafrans, why Biafrans have been killed at all fronts, and why they have continued to kill us. And somebody is telling us that they have interest. And what that interest is seems to be a very big contrast between what the people want and what the political class wants. So Nnamdi Kanu said something. You said you want Nigeria. Okay, no problem about it. We don't need to argue about it. Just get the day for Biafra referendum. Get the date. Let them conduct a referendum. At least that will determine the interest of the people. That will actually tell the whole world what the people want, and the people will say it by themselves in a referendum. But this is what they have run away from. They ran away from every topic that has to do with Biafran referendum. They keep talking about 2019 election. They keep talking about voting and voting and voting, as if voting has ever solved our problem. It is clear that voting has never solved our problem. Even the last one that was conducted, we saw it clearly that there in the north, even toddlers were voting. It was so rigged in the open that toddlers voted in the north, and they still come about, and we said we don't want to be part of this project. And our political elites, being as heartless as they are, ignored all that have happened, ignored the travails of the people, ignored the killings of the people, ignored the suffering of the people, and they are coming out to tell us the Nigerian project and the Igbo interests, and they are not ready to contest it in an open vote. And they are saying this is a democratic nation, this country believes in democracy. They are not interested in that. So we have insisted on a referendum, but they are not interested in it. So that is to tell you that these people don't actually mean well at all. They don't mean well for the people. They are simply embarking on a show of that force with Nigeria, joining force with Nigeria against the interests of the people, and they come out to the pages of newspaper and say they want the interest of the people. We want a referendum. We want total freedom. We want total restoration of Biafra back to our roots. That is what the people want. That is what we have asked for, and that is what we keep asking for. We will never stop asking for it.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, we will never stop asking for it. We want a date for referendum, and of course, we want the freedom of the people. Not, when you talk about the interests of the people, you allow the people speak. You allow them to speak by themselves, and of course, tell you what they need. And the indigenous people of Biafra have on many occasions, aired their opinion. We have done that through our protests. We've done that through the voice of the people. You hear the people speaking. And, I think, for once, have these politicians ever thought of gathering the masses, asking them, what do you want? How then do they know the interest of the people when they cannot conduct a simple poll? They cannot conduct a poll and say, okay, these people come and tell us, what do you want? They all depend on the Nigerian election for people to air their opinion.
You see, even the Nigerian election, it's not that the people will use it to air their opinion.
Not at all, because it doesn't,
they have already rigged it in advance. They have already rigged the election. The political elites, they are so united in evil. And the worst part of it, you see, when you look at the political elites, look at the Nigerian political elites, the problem is that the Igbo politicians actually, you look at how painful it is that other political elites, where you see them sometimes doing something reasonable with their people, doing something at least with their people. But look at our own political elites, are the ones selling. And I keep asking, why our political elites are always interested in selling our people over? Because that is where the real challenge is. That's where the real problem is, that they actually mark us for sale. Because each time you see them, they are interested in their position, the position they are going to occupy, not really in coming to the grassroots and of course building a system, building a political system. Because we know that normally under a functional political under functional democracy, under a functional system, you see that politicians were supposed to fall back to the grassroots. They were supposed to mobilize people from their homes, and of course you see it that the people willingly will come out because it's about interest. You see that sometimes based on who you are, based on what they have seen you do, they will be the one to choose by themselves that okay, you go and represent us because we know that you have been fighting. You are, in communities, we know who is who in Biafra land. And we know who have been, okay, just like the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu didn't need to, of course, pay anybody. Didn't need to do anything to anybody to, of course, start fighting for Biafra. But you see the politicians, they would come out to tell you that the people are saying something. But they are the ones saying it at the pages of newspaper. The people are saying something quite different, and they're saying a different thing. So political system in Nigeria is one that is just being hijacked by the caliphate, and they are bringing it down to the people, forcing the people, not interested in the will of the people, driving their own personal interest against the interest of the people. And what is their interest of the people? They have joined forces with their Hausa Fulani slaves, and of course they are asking for the Islamization agenda. That is just the bottom line of the whole thing. Because until they are succeed in helping their people, their leaders, of course their masters there in Asorok, in convincing the people. But the pain is not just that they are doing this. The pain is that they do it at the extreme point that they don't even consider the situation at hand. Because today the whole world are looking at Nigeria, looking at how fragile the life of the millions of people are. And these politicians have amassed so much wealth. They have amassed so much wealth that at a time they were supposed to at least nurture some human conscience. At least their conscience was supposed to prick them to the point that they should consider that these people they are dealing with are human beings. But they are so blindfolded, they are so hardened that in the midst of the whole happenings, in the midst of the international condition that of course the international community are looking down at what is happening, and we have pointed it out to the international community that see the political elites are the ones that are selling our people, and they are still coming out openly, not minding the situation. So you see them as being so heartless, you see them as being so inconsiderate, you see them as being shameless, and they come out openly and they still continue to sell the people in the open market, and they sell the interest of the people, and they come out and tell you for the interest of Ndigbo. So who decides the interest of Ndigbo? Is it the people that decide the interest of Ndigbo, or the few political elites that decide the interest of Ndigbo? So the question of who decide the interest of Ndigbo is something that they have actually painted at the pages of newspaper, and it looks different from what the people are really saying. And it has to be made clear, just as we are saying it today, that the interest of Ndigbo is not the interest of politicians. They are working on misplaced priorities. Their priorities is stealing and amassing wealth. That is helping the Nigerian government selling their people. Because the question is, why do our people sell their own people? If not, there's no reason why they would not have a little conscience to consider those that have been killed. But they are not interested in those that have been killed. They are still so blindfolded, looking at the money to be shared in Asorok, and that is what their interests have been. And they are still going there looking for money to collect, telling you the interest of Ndigbo in Nigeria, telling you the share of Ndigbo in Nigeria. And you ask yourself, in the Nigerian project as they have claimed it, the share of Ndigbo, how much can that share be? It is only in monetary terms. And these monetary terms, who receives it? Do the people actually receive any portion of this money? That is why you see that when the election time is coming like this, they will roll out money. They want to buy the voting, and they will keep telling you your share in the Nigerian project, and you will know that that money they are paying you during election, it's not that your election, your vote will count. They will pay you that money so that they will tell you that is your own share of the money in the Nigerian project. And for the next 4 years, you will collect. Some of them will collect 500 naira, 1,000 naira, and like this kind of election, they are ready to pay 10,000 naira, and that is the 10,000 naira you will spend for another 4 years. And that 10,000 naira is all your feeding, it's all your education, it's all the infrastructure, it's all the your health, it's everything. The money they are paying you during election. So that is the Nigerian project. Is a question that the politicians in Igbo land have become so heartless that they don't have any human feelings for the people. And it's shameful to note that these people bear Igbo names. It's shameful to know that these people are, of course, you can trace them, that they have families in Igbo land. It is shameful to have these people as members of course, as people that have something to do with our lineage. It is just shameful to identify that these people can actually be said that they are Igbo people. So the Nigerian project is one confused project. And of course in the hands of those who know what they are doing, but we are careful. We cannot buy into that evil project.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, this moment we'll be going on a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Land is sacred nation, the land of Biafra, a sacred nation. Our land Biafra, our land is sacred nation, the land of Biafra, our blessed nation. Homo Biafra, let's stand and fight for freedom.
In the world, you shall be enslaved for enslaving the Africans which you did not create. You shall be divided for attempting to divide the Biafrans that Chukwuokika created and joined together because of your greed. You shall die for killing innocent souls. Your genocidal acts and all manner of atrocities against Biafrans, detaining our leaders and killing of Biafrans can never prevent the coming of Biafra, because Biafra must come. All hail Biafra.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the country. Oh yeah, yeah, the land of suffering. Oh yeah, yeah, the land of intimidation.
We are the children of the mighty nation, where every daughter is in us a princess. We don't sacrifice, but we are being slaughtered, and we are not sheep, but we are being cheated.
Welcome back. You're still watching Sunrise Daily News Analysis on Biafra Television. Because we are talking about the election boycott, the importance, and of course the reactions coming from different quarters. Okay, Mazi Orako, while we talk about the politicians in Biafra land, why they are trying so hard to convince the people or appealing to the indigenous people of Biafra to stop the campaign for election boycott, General T.Y. Danjuma of the Middle Belt had called on the Middle Belt youths and all the youth also in Biafra land. He said the youth in Middle Belt, the Southwest, the Southeast and South-South, he called on them to rise and fight against the Fulani headsmen and forget about the 2019 election. What's your take on that?
Yes, T.Y. Danjuma have sustained what he said earlier, because you know, at his level he knows so much about what is happening and the so-called Nigerian project. He understands what it is. And of course, he is the one that cried out why the killings, the intense killing of Christians lasted. He cried out that, you see, these killings cannot stop. And he noted that the military have colluded with the killers. And there is nothing anybody can do, if not the people standing up to fight. And you see that T.Y. Danjuma is also coming out again, pointing it out, that, see, you need to stand up. You need to support the Biafra project. And you remember in our leaders broadcast, he made it clear after of course declaring it that's nothing like South and Southeast. What we have is Biafra, and he made it clear that the people of Benue need to stand up. The people in the Middle Belt need to stand up for themselves. T.Y. Danjuma also saying this same thing, and of course that is somebody who is sincere to his people. We are looking at now, comparing him, what he have said, and what the situation at hand. You will understand that T.Y. Danjuma understands the Nigerian project, what it is all about. And when you look at the Islamization agenda, When you look at the project, of course, to catch the people for life, he knows what it is. He knows that it is an everlasting slavery, a total annihilation of our people. And he knows what it is. That even the survivors will have no voice. In the future, they will be so lost that you cannot. In fact, by the time you, in the next 50 years, if you allow the Islamization agenda to thrive, in the next 50 years, you'll be surprised what our nation, our homes will have been turned to. So, T.Y. Danjuma understood what is happening. And he have actually sustained what he said earlier, because there have been so much pressure after he said the Nigerian army colluded with the military, with the Fulani herdsmen. There have been so much pressure, but he has actually noted that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, because it is really a project that they are really embarking on seriously. And you know that the man in Asorok and the man today they call Atiku, that is campaigning seriously, and you see some Igbo politicians who coming out to advise the indigenous people of Biafra to support. And that is it. You see that he understands that it is the same people. It is the same duty that the man in Asorok is doing that Atiku is coming to do. Or even when the man in Asorok, if the cabal is sustaining him there. So you see that T.Y. Danjuma really understand that there is no solution if not what Nnamdi Kanu has brought to the table, if not what the indigenous people of Biafra have brought to the table. And what did we bring? We talk about total freedom, that there is no way the Nigerian system can work, that this project is a failure. So T.Y. Danjuma is simply standing on the truth that Nnamdi Kanu have said. And remember when he said it earlier, he quoted our leader. He said, if not, that Somalia, this place will be, that Somalia will be a paradise, because that was exactly what our leader said. And he has actually compared what has been happening, compared his experience in the project, because he has been part of the project all along. He knew what it was before it expired, and he knew what is about to happen. He knew the direction they are going. So he actually looked at it and looked at what our leader have actually provided as solution. He knew that there's no other way if not to support Biafra. And that is why when you look at him talking, he is an old man, an elderly man that is saying the truth. He's standing on the truth. And with his experience, he should be listening to. Because the people there today, you talk about the horrible killings that have taken place and why it has been sustained. Because you look at killings going on up until now in Southern Kaduna and in other parts, it's still being sustained. And he's telling you that, see, Biafra is right. The only solution is you people should stand up and fight for your rights, as the indigenous people of Biafra are doing. That is it. And Danjuma cannot just say anything more than it, because that is exactly the position of the indigenous people of Biafra. So that is it. So we are on a platform that even our enemies know the truth. Even the Northerners, even the Yorubas, they know the truth. Even our political elites that you see that are talking about the interest in their interest, they know the truth. And that is it. T.Y. Danjuma have actually confirmed what we have been fighting for.
All right, thank you very much. Let's look at his reason. According to him, he said the Fulani herdsmen, sorry, that President Muhammadu Buhari is the founder and chief sponsor of Miyetti Island. This what we've been saying here for a very long time. Said he's the chief sponsor and also the founder. And of course, he alleged that their next target, according to privy information, he said their next target is, after conquering the Middle Belt, to conquer the southwest, all the Yoruba land, and of course make them subject to the Fulani Caliphate, which after that, those of them from Guinea, from West Africa and others will join hands and then come down to Biafra land.
That is it.
So
you see, if you look at the situation of things, it seems that the Yoruba land has already been conquered.
Okay.
Because if you look at what is happening today, look at what has happened to Fayoshe. Look at what has happened to anybody who actually had a little voice there. They have been fought, and you see that nobody is standing up to defend them there in Yoruba land. So the Yoruba land seem to have been conquered already. And you look at, like as earlier said, the Nigerian project is one that they are using the Islamization agenda under a unification platform, under a philosophy of unification. You remember that they tell you about Nigeria being one, unity by force. And that is the unification, that is the Islamization agenda. And they knew that the only headache they have is the indigenous people of Biafra, because we will never accept it. So, having mapped out their plans, and of course that tells you also that you look at those of them in coalition agenda, always talking about roadmap to restoring Biafra, roadmap to this, and you see them that when they talk about roadmap, these people are also talking about map, talking about design. You see that they are always speaking the same language, as if they of course sat in the meeting and they told them the projects. So you see that they actually are also part of that project. So you see that they plan to conquer Biafra. They have laid the foundation using those coalition agents, using those who say they have roadmap to Biafra restoration. That is the map they, of course, you see them presenting all the time. But you see, the Fulanis, the real map they drew, as that Juma rightly pointed out. You look at the north, they conquered the Hausas first, and having done that, they settled and made sure that they took possession. Then they moved down Middle Belt, started moving westward. And why are they doing this? They want to capture those areas and make the Nigerian system the re-inhabitation for Fulani people in the whole world, not just in West Africa. And when they have done this, do you know that they have a target where Nigeria becomes the home of Muslims in the world? Nigeria wants to lead Africa, and of course from leading Africa they will lead the entire world in the Islamization agenda. So it's really a project, a universal project that they are drawing, and they are coming step by step. Having, of course, conquered the north, having conquered the Hausas, they recall Hausa, and today they have lost their voice, and even in politics, you see the Fulanis are in charge there. And of course, moving down Middle Belt, they have really moved down, and the horrible killings. You knew what has happened recently, the horrible killings, and they have done some seed planting there in the west. You see that the seed they are planting today among our political elites, we have been planted long time ago in the west. A long time ago, and that is why when you move down west, you see that you have a lot of Islamic families. You have a lot of families that are Muslim. You see that Yorubas are already divided religiously. You see half of Yorubas are Muslim and half are Christians. Why is this so? Because in the Islamization agenda, Kwara had already been converted already to Islam. They have already conquered Kwara. They were moving, and of course, where they are today, you see that they have already done the seed planting a long time ago. And in the nearest future, by the time they are through with the Middle Belt, as Danjuma actually said, because he knows, he has seen the plan, he has actually seen the roadmap that they have drawn, and they have actually seen that in their plan today, they have seen Middle Belt as conquered. They see that, well, that nothing has actually happened, nothing has stopped them from conquering Middle Belt, and everything they are doing have actually proved to be successful there in the Middle Belt, and they are moving west, and they are doing it fast. Why are they doing so? Why are they moving fast? Because they see that Biafra is really working hard to get ourselves emancipated, and we are doing it very, very fast. We are not going to vote in the next election, and we have actually drawn a very strong plan for the restoration of Biafra. So then I felt okay, the best thing, and of course knowing fully well what happened when Nnamdi Kanu was released from Kuje prison. You remember how as long as Nnamdi Kanu were around, did you hear much about this Fulani nonsense in Biafra land? The indigenous people of Biafra repelled them. We stopped them from of course operating in Biafra land. The Fulani herdsmen were checkmated. That is why you see them, they could not operate. So having noticed that, they have seen that actually these people can do something, and they came for Nnamdi Kanu. And after 1 year, after 13 months, after going through all the travails, they see him resurfacing. So they know that there is a problem. So they now have to focus on the West. And what is the thing? They feel that, okay, by the time we have actually conquered the West, we will go back to what we did in 1967. And they will actually join forces with the West and fight Biafra. And not just with the West, with the world like they did before. That is the plan. That is the Islamization agenda. And they feel that by the time they have succeeded in doing that, they will now fight Biafra. And that is why you see, when Danjuma spoke, you can remember our leaders broadcast in Israel. Of course, what he said recently, you see it that the same way Jews are treated is the same way. You look at the similarity. Look at how the whole Islamic world have been fighting the state of Israel. Look at it. That is exactly what you see that is playing here. drawing a clear line, working on the West. Actually, they feel that the best thing they should do is to conquer the West completely, to totally capture every living thing there and make it a full Islamic nation. No, they don't just want to have some few Christians there. They want to turn it to full, so that they would have no opposition from that end completely. Then they will be able to focus on Biafrans, and which is the truth. And that is why, you see, when people are talking about election, Danjuma said, it is not about 2019. It is not about 2019.
But now my question is this. Does it mean the politicians in Biafra land are not privy to such information, or they know about it but choose to ignore it, or to ignore the consequences?
That is why I told you there's a very big deep pain. And the pain is, why is it that the Igbo man is selling his brother? Because that is the thing.
Sorry. Talking about selling the brother, are they really selling their brothers or including themselves? Because by the time the Islamization agenda comes, by the time it's being fulfilled, and by the time the Arab world or the Muslims take over, they also will not be spared. So that's why I'm beginning to ask, does it mean they do not understand the gravity of what is to come?
You see,
because they won't also be spared.
You see, they understand the gravity. It's something sheer wickedness and out of jealousy. There's nothing else you can talk about our political elite if not for the reason of jealousy. Why did they attack Nnamdi Kanu? That's remain a very big question. You look at our political elites, and Nnamdi Kanu, were so plain to them. He was to the point that he went to the house of Nnamdi and he ate with him. He dined with him in his house. He was as free as that. To tell you how loyal, how humble Nnamdi Kanu is. Nnamdi Kanu is not what they have actually painted him. So he went to the house of Nnamdi, but he will not sell Biafra. He will not abandon the people. He will not abandon the interests of the people. Now look at the political elites. There is no other reason, if not that they have got their priorities misplaced, as our leader have actually said it. What is the priority of Igbo man politician? Look at, okay, our leader said something in his broadcast. He said, look at, we had our campaign, we had our protests in Biafra land, and they were pursuing us everywhere. There were military checkpoints everywhere. They attacked us. Igbo politicians attacked us. But in Port Harcourt, we did not attack us. Why is it that these five Igbo states that they have shrunk them to be are the ones attacking? It's a very big question, and you see them coming together and attacking the entire people. Why is it so? Jealousy. It is nothing but jealousy and greed. Because you see, Nnamdi Kanu commanded a kind of respect, not just in Biafra land, from the international community, that they will never dream of in their entire life. You know, while they tried to kill Nnamdi Kanu, they felt they would have been the one. They want, you see, Nnamdi Kanu said something. He said Joseph Kanu visited him when he was in Kuje prison. Yeah. And he made mention of, see, that even when the protest had not, when our agitation had not got to this level, he was in Kuje prison and we were agitating for his release. And of course, we locked the Onitsha bridge. And based on that single pressure, the likes of IBB and Olusegun Obasanjo was thinking of, okay, maybe let them give an Igbo man the slot of president. Maybe that it will calm the situation. They were thinking of what to do. But he asked Joseph Kanu, if such a chance we are giving to you people, who will you actually come out and present one person? They were unable. Why is this so? Because of what we are seeing. These political elites, are a group of people with so much selfish interest. And that is why, if you look at them, look at all of them as Nigeria, Igbo political elites, you see them as bunch of people, as if they have been grouped together. You know, as if we are selected from the people and they were separated, and they are the people with the highest selfish interest in Igbo land. They are the one in politics, and they are there, of course, with their selfish interest and jealousies. They are being guided by their jealousy. Because what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have commanded, simple, sit at home. You see how Biafrans will listen to him and sat at home. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will say, I'm coming to Imo State, I'm coming to Owerri. Everybody in the stadium abandoned Rochas Okorocha and came to see Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Devil Mahi will say, Ebonyi is not Biafra land. And of course, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, I'm coming. And when he went, of course, we knew that the convoy that went to Ebonyi was the highest convoy ever recorded. And he had to break military checkpoints. Who established those military checkpoints? They wanted to stop him from entering Ebonyi State. So why is this so? It is greed and jealousy, nothing. Our political elites in Biafra land, not just because when we talk about Biafra land, it is worse in Igbo land. It is worse in not just in Igbo land, the 5 Igbo states that have been shrunk together. It is worse. You have them, a group of people as if they have been selected to, of course, with the most greedy human beings on earth, with the most people with extreme jealousy. They are the one there, and that is why they can never come together. Even Mazi Nnamdi Kanu also pointed something. So even if, as you see, Obi was selected by Atiku as vice president, he said they also will not even will still not be able to agree on one thing. They will not agree, assuming we were interested in the Nigerian project. So it is a problem. These politicians are being ruled by 2 major forces: jealousy and greed. Remove jealousy and greed, there is nothing else. What are they fighting for? Why is it that their interest is in their house in Abuja? When we are talking about freedom for restoration for Biafra, they will tell you that they have houses everywhere in Nigeria. Is it not what they have always told us? Now they will tell you that, see, that Igbos have houses everywhere in Nigeria. But the people are not worried about the houses they built. But the political elite will tell you that I have built a mansion in Abuja. So do you really want me to abandon my mansion in Abuja? That is their selfish interest. That is what they are looking for. They are ruled by jealousy, in the sense that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu commands the highest crowd they have never seen in their life. And they felt that they could have been the one commanding the crowd. And that is why they were always asking Mazi Nnamdi Kanu about leadership. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu also made it clear to them, see, that he is not looking for leadership position. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu simply want the people free. And that is what he made clear to them. But they simply want a position where they can stay and amass wealth. Jealousy and greed, that is what is driving them. If you remove jealousy and greed from this our political elite, you have nothing but freedom for the people. Just look at the political elites. If you address the question of greed and jealousy, you have freedom. Biafra will just be free today. Because our political elites, the only reason why they will not join forces with indigenous people, of course, to fight, is because of their selfish interests, because of greed and jealousy, nothing more.
All right, thank you very much. Let's quickly look at the next one here, and of course, because we have just 5 minutes to go. But the U.S. Secretary of State had also said that Nigeria has several very, very serious issues going on at the same time, and these are people who are talking about the 2019 election. And come to think of it, even in Aso Rock, the campaign for 2019 election is not that, it's not really hot. It's not going on as it's supposed to. But here in Biafra land, you see our politicians dying over it. And now the U.S. Secretary of State has confirmed that serious, very, very serious issues are going on with Nigeria at the same time. What's your take on the statement of the U.S. Secretary of State?
Yes, the U.S. understand the situation of Nigeria. They remember that President Trump said something when the man in Aso Rock went to the United States. He said that the killings of Christians in Nigeria is horrible. And of course, the U.S. wasn't going to allow it to happen. That they were working very, very hard to make it stop. And apart from the killing of Christians, there are problems in everything in Nigeria. Everything in Nigeria is under pressure. There's problem. There's nothing you talk about in Nigeria that's not that doesn't have a problem. Because you see, as when Nigeria is, the more it's increasing in years, of course, growing in years, because Nigeria is only growing in years. They were 50, 51, 50, and that's the only thing you can count in Nigeria. Only living to count numbers in Nigeria. They are not growing in anything. And as they grow, their problem continue to grow. The divide and rule system continue to multiply. Everything in Nigeria continue to grow. From politics, look at Nigerian politics. And look at the single. Remember that the world once have asked the Nigerian government to conduct a credible election that is free and fair, and of course free from violence. And the US have looked at what is happening in the Nigerian politics. Remove all the problems in Nigeria and look at the present day politics. Before the coming of Nnamdi Kanu, of course, before we knew that, before the resurfacing of Nnamdi Kanu, we saw this clear fight going on in the political sector. Look at the PDP. Look at the PDP as a political party who are desperate to return back to power, and look at the APC, the cabals that have been ruling, who are also desperate in. Of course, they have hijacked the entire system. They are in charge of everything in Nigeria, and they want to sustain it. So that one is a complex problem in that looking down it cannot be resolved. The way things are going, it can really not be resolved. Then the Biafran question, because we want to be free and we have decided to boycott the election. That is not even a problem, because we have decided, and it doesn't create any problem in Nigeria, it doesn't create war. We simply boycott the election, let them go ahead with the election. But look at there in the north today, look at the Shiites, the issue of the Shiites. Look at how they were killed recently, and they are still being killed. That is a religious problem, and it's growing. So between even the Islamic body in Nigeria, they are also divided, and there is conflict among them. They are killing themselves. The one in power, the Islamic government in power today, is killing the Shiites. And of course, you look at the system of injustice that we talk about in Nigeria that have grown. Everything, Nigeria is actually getting worse every day. And you see that the United States is also worried about this. And the more they are trying to solve one of the problems, the more the problems will keep multiplying, trying to tell you that Nigeria cannot be fixed. Very, very simple thing. And that is just the summary of the whole thing. Because Nnamdi Kanu actually took time to study if there's anything that can be done about Nigeria. Remember what he said. He said, he simply told them something. He said, when they came, they said, what do you want? What do you actually want? He simply told them, back to 1963. And they left and never came back again. Do they really want to solve the problem in Nigeria? So the US are worried that those who occupy positions in the evil contraption are the ones that are not interested in solving the problem. They know the problem, and they